Welcome to the Driver Excuses podcast. It's probably the nicest studio we ever had. And as you might notice, Kevin is not here. I'm here with Sam Coleman. We're out in Lake Como for the second round of the E1 World Championship this year. Sam has some absolutely incredible stats. Most of all, some that I'm very jealous of, is two-time world champion in E1. So you have been the team to beat, the driver to beat in this series for a while. You're also a world champion in power stock boat racing.
Yeah, P1 Super Stock. That was my life before E1. So that was pretty exciting too. In that, I was racing with my sister as well. So quite a unique story in how I got into that. But it was nice to have the offshore grounding coming into E1 racing.
Yeah.
I think it gave me some sort of understanding, especially of the water conditions. But you know yourself, racing the Racebird is insanely different compared to even the boats probably that you did the training in before, you know.
It's very different, but you raced with your sister and
Yeah.
she was your co-pilot then.
Yes, she was my navigator, so navigator, co-pilot, whatever you want to call it. But so I was used to that team dynamic too, which I really liked. In offshore, there's two of you in the boat, similar to rally and stuff, and like you're kind of in it together. You got open comms. She's constantly giving me like a running feedback of where the other boats are on the course. So you just focus on driving like the next 100, 200 meters, and you only get your peripheral vision to use. Anything that goes on outside of my peripheral vision, she's in charge of. So if she tells me there's something there, you trust her, and you like leave room for one boat, or you close the door or whatever. She's in control of like racing the other boats. I'm in control of optimizing the lap time and the conditions. So it was a really cool team.
Did you get along well? Do you think it was good that it was your sister?
Yeah, we had a challenging relationship when we were growing up as well.
Yeah.
Like we really argued and butted heads, and she was a handful, you know, like yeah.
You were probably a handful.
Oh, man, I'm like eldest boy. I was like working in the family business. I think I was too well behaved, and then she was a bit of a tearaway. Then she went in the armed forces, and we became friends from that point. Like
Wow.
once she found a direction and stuff, we became really good friends and close, and we still are. But then to get into the racing, she was racing boats before me through when she was leaving the army. So I was like watching her racing boats on Sky Sports, being like, you grew up riding horses, like what's going on here? And so she steered me into powerboat racing. I was very grateful that she took me along to one of her races and I helped out. And that was my intro into like competitive motorsport. So before that, I did a bit of motocross and things, but I didn't have a bike till I was 18, you know. So I feel like I started motorsport in terms of competing really quite late.
Yeah, but Seb Loeb gave the same explanation. He also started very late when he got the driver's license.
Yeah.
Basically figured out that he wanted to go fast. I think that's quite inspiring because you hear of all these kids who are in Formula One now who was racing before they could walk, or more or less.
Yeah.
You know? It's quite inspiring to hear that you can start late and become the best.
There's so many different ways to get into motorsport, and it doesn't have to be like driving, you know. I mean, it's such a diverse industry in terms of job roles and stuff like that. And even now I help one of our mechanics that runs a race team in America. I'll go and work as a mechanic on the cars out there and stuff, because I love the engineering side too. So I got involved because I was passionate about engineering and development and making something better, and then realized that when the opportunity came, I was like, I have a bit of a knack for this, you know, and then it escalated from there. But initially I was getting involved just because I love motorsport and was happy to work in the industry. So it's pretty wild that even late, I think it's all about mindset. And if you're willing to learn and put yourself in the positions to take the opportunities, something will come of it.
I'm exactly the same. I love learning, and I love like being part of a test team and so on. And I know that you got into E1 very different to all the other pilots here. And you were involved in the early development of the boat. That must have been so interesting.
It was really exciting because it was strange, because the reason that I ended up at the first ever test was I drove my van from the UK with loads of charging equipment and was there digging trenches to lay cables and putting up the tent that the guys were working out. And I just wanted to be there, you know. I was lucky enough, I knew someone in the ops team that was like, just come and give us a hand. And I was there in San Lazaro watching this really cool new project that I'd seen from a distance, and I didn't know how I'd get involved. Like Extreme E, I saw when that was launched, and it was just after I'd won my offshore world championship. And to me, it was slightly similar in the fact that they wanted to pull people from other sports and bring it in to grow the sport. And I was like, off the back of that, I was quite buoyant, and I was like, fuck, this is something I'd love to get involved in, because I grew up watching rallying and was a frustrated engineer, and learned just self-taught mechanics and things like that. And I was like, maybe I've got something to offer. I'd love to be involved in that project, but I didn't know how to get involved. But when it came to boats, it all aligned, and I was able to be like, right, this is where I want to go when I saw the concept.
Yeah.
And I just happened to,
take the step from being a delivery guy to the test pilot.
I mean,
it's quite the step.
Yeah, it's a step, but it's like it's 4 years ago now.
Yeah.
And I drove a transit full of equipment to this event. I can't get it out of my system, but
You love it.
just love it. But I think the step was being there, like seeing what was going on, making yourself valuable. And then I just started talking to the test team a little bit and the mechanics team, and then they knew a little bit more about my background, and we'd discuss what was going on with the testing and the direction. And don't get me wrong, I had no involvement in the direction of the development directly, but in terms of the testing, I'd just give my opinion on like, well, we're trying this, what's the goal? Why don't we try this? And just little bits and bobs, and it just kind of escalated, and I became more and more involved in the testing side. Like I said, the design concept and everything was already done, and we were just understanding how to optimize it and make it work.
For the listeners, maybe who haven't seen the fun race, it's a very unique boat. It's the first foiling power boat.
Yeah, well, it's the first foiling electric race boats. There's foiling power boats, and foiling's been around since 1900 and something at Lake Maggiore many years ago, and we're revisiting now with the electrification and technology about efficiency and things like that. So my initial interest was the powertrain. Like I want to see what the electric powertrain is like. The foils for me, I was like, I can take it or leave it.
Yeah.
But became more and more involved in just giving my opinion here and there. And I was still working on the ops side, but happy to be at the events just to see it. And then that just grew into people recognizing there was a bit more than an ops guy there. So I started getting involved in the mechanics side of it. And then I got asked to test it once or twice, and I said, no, I don't want to risk not being able to race it. So I actually said no to a couple of opportunities, which as it grew, I regretted a little bit, because I was like, shit, am I ever going to get to race it? Once we started the pilot academy and we knew that talented people from other sports like yourself or Sarah Price, Lucas Ordonez, Danny Kloss, like I was like, man, how am I going to get a seat? But to see it from the start was really cool for me, and I just wanted to work in it some way.
You joining Team Brady eventually, is history now, how you have won 2 world championships, and incredible story, by the way, to be so committed and so like genuinely passionate about everything. So to get to where you are now, like imagine if you knew that in the van driving down.
I honestly didn't. Like,
no.
It was like how...
But it's a dream, right?
It is a dream, and I still pinch myself from time to time to be here racing.
You have won more races than anyone else. You've won both the championships so far. You're not leading this year. Where are you? Second?
Second. I think we started better than we did last year, which is a good start.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we're in a good place.
So I just have really one key question that I want to ask, and it's like, how do you do it?
I can't tell you that. I've seen you driving, Timmy, and if I give you any more tips, I'll be under a bit more pressure. So no, I don't know. The way that I operate is, I love being integrated into the team and being the last guy out the garage and maybe not the first there in the morning, because I'm not a morning person, but like I like to be there early and be involved with the whole team and make sure I'm across the engineering side and the mechanics and things like that, because it's just how I've always operated. I didn't have that baseline. Maybe it's something in my mentality for not having that baseline, like growing up through karting and things like that, is I've always had to work for what I've got. So I see like guys who are naturally talented or whatever and stuff, and I'm like, well, I didn't get the baseline grounding, so I need to work.
You are probably naturally talented.
Yeah, maybe
too.
I am, but in my head I don't sometimes feel that, because I'm like,
well, what does talent matter anyway?
Exactly.
It doesn't matter how good you were when you were a kid. It matters how good you are now, today, in this race, and now you're the one to beat.
Yeah, I think, but like I say, I think it just comes from like that work ethic and always wanting to learn. Like, one of the cool things about the team when I met Joe and Ben was like, my first thought was I can learn a lot from these guys. At the time, I didn't know who we were racing for, but I met Joe and Ben, and they were like, we think, well, it'd be really cool to race with you. Like they were good guys. They saw something in me, and I was like, Joe's background coming from Red Bull in F1 and Ben with Formula E and the McLaren and stuff as well. I was like, these guys are in top tier motorsport that I've always put on a pedestal and aspired to. Like, I can learn something from them. So throughout all of my racing, I've enjoyed being surrounded by people that I can learn from. And even now, like, I don't take anything for granted. You know, I just want to keep working hard and keep progressing.
We are going much faster now in season 3 than we were in season 1. So like the learning part of everything has been,
like you say, the evolution of the sport, and we're all getting faster, closer. So the we've always been a team that focus on the fine margins and looking under every stone and trying to see where we can make gains and marginal gains and stuff. But now it means more than ever because every team is more competitive.
And where do you think, like, what would it, how do I say this? Like, what made you get the edge? Because you've had that one more step than the other teams so far these first 2 seasons.
Yeah.
What do you think it comes down to?
Do you know, I think it's truly down to consistency. Like you say there's an edge, but I think we've only had an edge at like maybe 2 events. Majority last year, I felt like we were just untouchable. And that was the most comfortable we've been through a race weekend. Even Miami at the end of last year, I don't think we were untouchable. Rafa were probably faster, but I felt confident and I knew we were good. Okay, nothing's done until it's done, but even in the final, when I did a completely different strategy to try and race for the win in final 1, I was like, all right, here we go. I was like excited about it. I was like, we're doing something different. We've learned from something earlier in the season that didn't work for us, and we're trying something in the last race of the season.
Yeah.
And that was really exciting. So I feel like we're quite controlled. We try to control everything we can control and not worry too much about what's going on elsewhere and with other people. So I don't truly believe
that's what it feels like when you are the one who is leading, though.
Yeah.
Like then you it's enough to focus on yourself.
Yeah.
Now my job is to take your spot and to catch up, but it's not an easy job. And like E1 is so difficult in how you got to drive the boat, how are the water conditions, and because it's such a unique concept of a boat, I don't think it really translates to any other racing, at least for me. I don't know how it translates to powerboating.
Absolutely not. I think I saw people test the Racebird that were 4-time F1 H3 World Champions, and they didn't get it.
Yeah.
Like you really need to understand what it needs and delete some of the instinct that you've learned or learned behaviors through powerboat racing, because there are things that are inverted. Like the way we use the trim is different to how you use it in a normal powerboat. There's no chance of just being a bit of a hero and holding on and like thinking you'll just smash across the waves. You really need to understand what it needs and keep it in that operating window. And I think it rewards people who are willing to learn and understand that.
Yeah.
There's an element of feel gets you so far, but I think you need that extra step of really being into the detail.
Because there is no junior series that's like this. No one's grown up like naturally feeling the foils. Everyone's had to come here 2 years ago and learn on the job.
One of the things I found exciting is that I don't really feel like it gave anybody from any category an advantage. Like Emma, racing against Emma is incredible, or with Emma, sorry, like as my teammate, because she has a completely different background and skill set to me. And then I've been able to learn from her. She's been able to learn bits from me, and that's really worked for me. So, and then I see like guys like you and Lucas and come in and adapt immediately. And I was like, damn, you guys have got a skill set from another completely different sport that have come in and been quick immediately. And I've had to completely change how I drive. Like when I drove this boat for some tests prior to going racing, I drove it completely different to how we drive it now.
Did you?
Yeah. It was more sweepy, more like, oh, this is all pretty and foily, and now it's like aggressive in and out. And like shortest distance. And okay, there are times I've watched you recently where you've been able to carry speed in a bit more of a sweep, and I'm like, oh, it's working a bit there. But and for me, I had to relearn things I knew, and I was like, I've got to adapt too. Everything that I knew before doesn't apply now. So it's so challenging to drive, and I think it's exciting that people can come in and showcase from the off that they have the mentality and the mental capacity to operate it, because there's a lot to move and do. And then obviously the strategy comes in and it's really busy in there, and it's like that most intense hyper focus for like 10 minutes. It's a different kind of stress. It's not physical stress, and like it's the heat and the focus that is just so tiring compared to, like for me, racing an offshore boat for an hour where you just get hiding and it's like a bit more like motocross. It's been a really cool adaptation.
We've spoken a lot about like the success and the good and climbing now, but What's your worst race? What's the single worst race you've done so far?
The single worst race was Port of Banús. Like we were ninth. Like
Yeah, you were eliminated.
we
then.
were eliminated on the Saturday. I think we
Yeah.
were racing Saturday, Sunday. So we were eliminated on quali day. We didn't do anything on Sunday.
Here comes the excuses.
Yeah, excuse. My wife turned up for that event. She was only coming on the Sunday. She didn't see any racing.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Are you kidding?
Yeah. I was just like, but that was super frustrating. Like the boat in Emma's race, I had a bad race. I had some contact with Eric. I'm going to blame Eric for it all day long, but maybe I shouldn't have put the boat there. And at the time I was angry, you know,
Yeah.
but I felt like he closed me the door, to use Lucas's terminology. But so in my heat, we had contact with Eric. The foil was damaged. Then in Emma's, the boat just launched off one of the massive waves because we were in seas that were meant for offshore boats.
The waves were massive.
It was insane.
Yeah.
Like the boat is an incredible piece of technology, and it's designed for sort of flatter waters where you can foil.
Like we have here. We say the swimming pool water is where
we've got a window where it works to that level. But when we were in Port of Banús in like 2-meter waves, and it's just survival. And the boat launched out the water, prop overspeed caused the motor to trip, and we couldn't restart the boat quick enough. And because of the tide, she drifted past the start line on the outside of the gate, which meant we were DQ'd from the race, and we didn't get to race on the Sunday. So that was probably my worst experience of racing so far, because I felt in such a short series.
You were leading the championship by quite a margin, and then you got basically 0 points for that weekend, and then it was suddenly close again.
And we knew we were only having 5 or 6 events in that season, so I was like, this could have blown it. This could have been it. So that was super frustrating.
Well, coming into this race here, we've been here in Lake Como before. I remember it being a bit more wavy than it is now. Do you remember it being wavy?
Yeah, it was choppy. It was deceptive.
Yeah.
And I think there's a driver excuse for you. Like the team think it's flat. Every time you go out on the water, the team are like, yeah, it looks really flat out there. And then you're in there and you're like chopping around. It won't stay on the foils. You're like, this is really rough. And they're like, probably thinking that's a flat out driver excuse, because every time we go in there, we tell them it's rough and it might look like a swimming pool. But because they're so challenging to follow and in each other's wake, we create our own water disturbance, and as the race goes on, it gets rougher and more challenging to fly. So I think this looks beautiful now, but the ferry's coming in and out, and there's so much traffic, and if it gets a little bit windy, it's a big lake and it's deep. It's like 400 meters deep in some spaces. So
is it really
400 meters deep, this lake? It's incredible.
It's
not right
even
here, like, I don't know where the
wide.
deepest point is, but it's because it's surrounded by mountains so much. It's like, so it gets some traits of the sea, but it's fresh water and it's beautiful right now, but it can change. So I think it'll be rougher for the race. It's always deceptive. It always feels rougher than it looks for me.
And in terms of driving with other boats, as you said, like maybe for the people who are getting into E1, and if you want to watch the race and so on, it's quite interesting the way we have to follow, because it's different to car racing. Then you lose downforce in the corners, but you get the slipstream on the straight. But in boats, it's completely different.
We lose, don't we? We lose on the straight because we've got the aerated water from the propeller, and now we've got propeller arm foils. And then you've got aerated water that's passing over foils, so you're reducing your lift. And it's like this negative feedback loop that it just gets worse and worse and worse. And you arrive in the corner and the boat in front's taking maybe a slightly different line to what you want to do, so you've got to cross their wake, and then that unsettles the boat.
So there's the white water straight behind, and then the wake kind of comes out as a V.
Yeah,
I've had to learn this the hard way. I didn't know any of this.
I'm talking like everybody knows.
The wake comes out like that, and it's a bit of a wave. You either choose to go in that white water, which is just slow. It's just like you have low grip water that propeller doesn't push you forward and everything. Or you can go out of this wake. You kind of have to climb this wave. And out there you have fresh water, but now you're suddenly on a really bad racing line.
Exactly. You're, 2 or 3 boat widths wider.
Yeah.
Like, how many more meters are you traveling around the track? You've got to have such an overspeed to overtake. So it is really challenging, and that's where strategy comes in with us. And relying a lot on the pit wall to find you some clear water on the track, because to make an on-track overtake is really hard. I don't know how you feel it, but I feel like sometimes you arrive on the back of someone quick, and if you don't pass them straight away, you have one bite and then you drop way off the back, and that momentum dies and you can't get back up there. So
absolutely,
it's so challenging to fly, but that is a frustration, is that you want to take as short meters as you can, but when you're following a boat, you're 10, 20 meters away from the turn mark, from the apex. And you're like, what am I doing out here? But I have to be, otherwise I've got no drive and no lift. So it's a real mind game and a bit of a
It is.
head
And
fuck
we have,
sometimes.
compared to rallycross, we have like the joker lap or the long lap, and we also have a short lap.
Yeah.
And we got to do both. It's the same length as a rallycross race, 6 laps, and we start all together. So the racing format I'm
Yeah.
very familiar with that part. But the strategy of having both the short and the long, and not only yourself, but all the boats can do either of them at any time.
Yeah.
That's very tricky to
It
get it
becomes
right.
a bit of a mess, doesn't it? And like the short, when it got added in, I was like, I'm not so sure, because it felt to me almost like too many variables at the time. Okay, it mixes things up, and we race the rules as we're given them. But when it came in, I was like, man, this is chaos. I don't know who I'm racing. Like the dash says P4, and I'm like, am I in P4 or 2 or what's going on? And just got to rely on the team to give you the best information, and it becomes even more of a team sport than you can't. Even if you've got a big mental capacity, you can't do it all from the driving seat.
Well, and you don't know where the others are also.
No.
So even if you have the mental capacity, you don't see how far behind the boat is who's already done the long lap, and when the good time is, or if someone's not taking it and it's close to you, right? So you got to rely on the team.
It's like a bit like a spotter in NASCAR as well, who's really like helping you, let you know what's going on with the tactics.
Who is spotting for you?
It's often Joe. It's Joe or Ben. It depends what the race site location is, but we
do they share the strategy work and the spotting between each other, or is it one person does both? We do. one person is on strategy, and kind of looking on that, and one person is more like with me in the boat.
It's pretty similar, you know. Like if it depends on the race location. If they've both got a good view of the course, it's very evenly distributed. If one of them has a compromised view, then we weight it further in the other way. And but like, you know what it's like, every race site has different challenges, whether it's the water conditions or the fact that the pits and the race course are miles away from each other, or whatever, or the view from mission control. So I think this weekend we're quite lucky with everything's within visibility.
What do you think the challenge is out here this weekend?
I think the challenge is the mixed water conditions. We got a more open race course than the last time we were here.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember.
It was very twisty last time.
We had 2 big chicanes, and I don't want to...
Now it's almost an oval.
Which I think maybe might be too far the other way, but I don't want to be the guy that just wants an oval because we can overtake. Like, as a driver, you want to drive. Like in Venice, I was like, oh my God, this is incredible. This felt like Monaco for me, because
Venice was
because
cool.
you had like you had like insane amounts of like furniture, as they'd call it in the Isle of Man, like where like stuff at the side of the road, where we've got like channel markers in the middle of the race course and things like that. I was like, this is cool from a driving perspective, but didn't know how it would work for racing. But like here, we've got a bit more space. But when we have 2 defined chicanes, I think it funnels people in too tight. And then we talked already about how hard it is to follow. So we need quite an open race course to enable us to race and not just rely on strategy. So we'll see how it goes this weekend, but I think it should be an improvement from 2024 here, where once you got sat in behind somebody, you were almost committed to, well, this is all I got sort of thing, or it felt like that from my seat anyway.
Yeah. If you don't really have strategy to play with, like if it doesn't really work out in the race, you have to sit there behind, if you're second place, and you have to sit there behind the leader.
Means so much more now.
The start is everything, right? Especially in the end this year, where they do 6 boat races, and it's very crowded to line up. It's not a lot of space, and you don't have a handbrake in a boat, so it constantly moves around.
We got the tide, the wind. Like, this is what, I guess, coming from offshore, I'm kind of, this one thing I'm used to is like the logistics of the boat, like moving a boat around. But even that, I started late, you know, so I felt like when I started that, I could race a boat, but I couldn't park it. I was like,
park it.
I was like, what's going on? Like, the thing swaps ends, the wind blows the bow around. But like, as I've become more experienced with those kind of things, I understand how to hold the boat in position and battle against the wind and the tide. And like, we got a lot of talented guys coming in here racing, but that part is always chaos in the start, because we all want to protect our lane and not get squeezed and give room to the other boats as well. But sometimes you just get drifting around and it's really hard. You can't hold them stationary. So
it's like the little race before the race.
Yeah, it is a little, that little game of chess, trying to hold your position at the start.
To round off, I just have one more question. Which propeller do you think you'll be using this weekend?
I think we'll be on the on the really short one for acceleration and chop. Get the good start and then get overtaken by
whatever he's saying.
everything.
That's not true right now because we're competing in very soon. We're gonna go out on the water and have free practice.
Throw it on and see what it does.
Yeah,
It's got to work at some point.
Yeah. What's your best driver excuse?
I think I don't know. I think I mentioned one earlier, which is like always complaining that it's rough. Like
Yeah,
it
that's a
might
good
be a
one.
swimming pool, but I'm like, man, it's so rough out here. I can't get the thing to fly or whatever.
Yeah.
I try not to complain too much, and I'm like,
He don't give me the space. You can say, that's a good excuse.
yeah, he closed me the door.
He closed me the door.
Again, he closed me the door. That was such a cool race in Monaco that year, and I had no boost, and he was on boost, and I just had to come across and close him the door. And
Yeah.
I was worried. I was like worried whether that was.
Well, in that situation, he had the excuse. He closed me the door, and you came out winning.
That's the best excuse I've heard. And like, but like internally, I put a lot of pressure on myself. So like, I internalize. If I'm slower, I'm like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Like that's how I operate. So I try not to find too many excuses. Quite often, I'm
dirty water. That's
dirty
that's
water's a big one.
common excuse here. Like
Dirty
in
waters.
qualifying.
Yeah. Dirty water in qualifying is a big one.
Yeah.
The other one I tend to use quite a lot is like I get, oh, you're quite far from the mark. So I'm like, well, I don't want to break the boat.
Yeah. I'm taking care of the boat.
Taking care of the boat. And
It's a
then
good one.
when I had to relearn how to drive the boat, like I said before, about being more aggressive in the turn, in my head, I'm like, I'm going to break it. So like for me to cross that threshold to understand that we've improved the boat's improved since the start and we can put it under more load. But at the start, I was like, if I drive like they're driving, I'm going to break the boat. So it took a lot for me to get through that. So that was one of the excuses that like I'm protecting the equipment and thinking of the long game.
It's very gentle excuses. I think we don't even realize, to be honest.
Yeah, maybe there's some more that I'm missing. Like,
usually don't come up when we ask directly, but
yeah,
when me and Kevin have talked back and discussed the previous weekend, it's full of excuses.
I tried to pick Joe, team principal's brains earlier for some, and he took the piss out of me quite a lot. But luckily there weren't any horrendous ones yet, so we'll see how the weekend goes. I might have to ask around for some other people's excuses.
You know that you've done well when you don't have excuses, and you are a two-time champion here, so I can see why you're struggling to come up with. I have plenty. I mean,
but yeah, we know how hard they are to drive, so sometimes it's hard. It's hard to say that you've run out of talent, isn't it? Like that's the hardest thing for any driver to say is like, I just ran out of talent. So we naturally, as humans, we always find an excuse for something.
Yeah.
But, I try my best not to come straight firing out with the excuses and find the reason for maybe being a little bit slower than Emma or you or whoever else. So.
Well, it's going to be an exciting week. It's the second round of E1 World Championship here. You can watch it on YouTube, live and free. And thank you for listening today. It was a different kind of episode out here in the sun in Italy.
Is incredible.
Thank you, Sam, for joining. And
thanks for having me.
I'll see you out there in the water.
I'll see you out there. Give me plenty of space now. Don't close me.